Yeah, so the sad passing of Chuck Norris. Ironically, one of the guys I went to jail with built Chuck Norris's studio somewhere in Texas. Craig Forrester, brother of one of the lead co-defendants, and Craig Forrester was a working guy. And I asked him, "Did Chuck Norris ever party?" And he said, "No, man, a couple of beers here and there." And that's who Chuck Norris was, right? Good to the core, a good man who was so good that he actually became great. And, one of the reasons I feel such a bond with Chuck is my bass style was Tong Sudo Mudokwan, and that's Chuck Norris's bass style as well. He took it and he made it his own, but at the end of the day, we did the same forms, we did the same techniques, we learned the same stuff. And by the way, guys, my jujitsu friends especially are big on bringing up Chuck coming into jujitsu, and that just shows you what a great man Chuck was. He embraced something that wasn't his specialty, helped bring some of the Gracies to the United States and promote Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, knowing it was more of the truth that karate had been to him. And guys, I go into this in my book a little bit. There are some things about karate that are realistic that people don't want to hear. Like, for instance, most street fights don't have jabs in them, right? Most street fights, quite honestly, are ended bouncing in and out the way you would in karate. Like, leg kicks aren't big in street fights, right? But neither are all the high tongue sudo kicks and all that. I get that. But it's pinpoint accuracy with punches. You knock a guy down, then you kick him in the head with soccer kicks, and that's how most real street fights end. So karate is not worthless in that street environment. Now, obviously, you bring that to MMA, it's a lot different. MMA is a sport. We're not talking about a street fight. But I think what's more important than talking about fighting is the idea that Chuck used Tong Sudo as a base to form the rest of his life. Respect of other people, seniority of other people, right? He respected the Gracies as seniors to him in grappling arts, and he gave them all due respect. And it reflected in his movie career, his television career, himself as an actor, and all the accomplishments he had. He was just an absolutely incredible martial artist. And by the way, on that note, not so gifted technically that everything was about his athletic prowess. Maybe Bruce Lee was that. But Chuck Norris rather worked his ass off. Like, I remember when he won the Forms division in Ed Parker's tournament, it was Pyongan Odan he did, which Pinan, I think, I don't know what they call it in Japanese, but the bottom line is, he was doing a traditional karate form that we all share. And Chuck was a regular guy that was so good in his internal being and what he tried to exemplify that he became great. And when I look at the accomplishments that Chuck Norris had, I recognize some things. I recognize he didn't bare bone truth like I do. I ripped things apart. Chuck Norris just went along his own way, in his own path. He never talked smack. He never did any of that stuff. We live in a much different world, it is true. But I remember watching him as James Braddock from the Vietnam movies, right, that were in the 80s. And all the way through Delta Force was one of those movies with all those crazy motorcycles. But Chuck Norris will forever be a part of my soul and my heart, not just because of Tong Soo, which we both share as our foundation, but rather because of who he was as a human being. And he had to pass. He's getting older. But, we can celebrate him for all the accomplishments he had. And it was a regular guy doing that, not some specially gifted, talented guy. It was a guy who worked hard, always showed up, and never gave up. And there it is. Like and follow for more on the fight.